the Boston Bruins defeat the Tampa Bay Lightning 3-1 at TD Garden on Tuesday night. I'm Conor Ryan of BostonSportsJournal.com, here to give you a few takeaways from tonight's win. I think this is a game where you look at, in the grand scheme of things, where the Bruins can kind of build off of a win like this, and when you look to the future of how this team can kind of find the principles or the foundations of success, especially once you get to the postseason. I think you look at a performance like Taylor Hall tonight and where exactly he can best impact this team. Because I think if you ask me or most Bruins fans at the start of the year where Taylor Hall is going to play, top six, right? Makes a lot of sense. You look at a guy, his pedigree, his, where he's played on this Bruins team before. Seems like one of the few guys that really isn't moving out of that top six. There's other guys that can shift in and out. There's obviously a guy like DeBrusk, Zaka, what have you. Taylor Hall seemed like a guy that was going to be pretty set in his spot, most likely next to a guy like David Krejci. But give credit where it's due to both Hall and I think especially Jim Montgomery in terms of, yes, maybe it's a bit unorthodox to see a guy like Hall with his resume further down the lineup, especially next to a guy like Charlie Coyle, who last year, Coyle and Hall, not good together. Very, very bad. More of an offensive-minded line, and they were outscored 16-13 when they're on the ice together. But so far this year, I don't know whether it's just Hall getting more comfortable playing with Coyle, who's a bit of a different center than a guy like David Krejci, or just maybe more of that defensive ability from Coyle breaking out. They've been fantastic together. I mean, this is a line now, Coyle, Hall, and Frederick, that isn't getting a lot of ozone time as of tonight's game. They're averaging under 40% in terms of ozone stats, so they're not getting a lot of easy stats, a lot of early looks in the offensive zone. They have to work for their offensive chances. Usually, it involves carrying the puck down the other end of the ice, which having a guy like Hall helps out tremendously in that regard. But it's worked so far. I mean, again, a lot of D zone stats for that group, and they've outscored teams 4-3. And that might not seem like it's a very lopsided margin, obviously, just up by one goal. But Montgomery mentioned earlier this week that line, the chances they're generating, they keep up what they're doing, they're going to score a lot more goals. And you look at just how Hall impacts that line. His ability to not just carry the puck through transition, but just that straight line speed, right? Like we've seen over the years with Coyle when he's playing at a high level, a lot of it comes down to possessing the puck, keeping that sustained ozone pressure and waiting for those soft areas of the ice for other guys to bury their chances. Having a guy like Taylor Hall who has that 0 to 60 speed, that straight line acceleration, to almost be like kind of like a cheat code, in terms of how quickly he can recover pucks, beat guys, put guys on their heels in terms of that ability to get to the end boards or along the boards, recover those pucks and kind of wait things out, wait for guys like Coyle and Frederick to get in the offensive zone or feed it up high to a trailing defenseman or what have you. Having a guy like Hall on that line has been a game changer for this team. And when you look at a win like this over the Lightning, you can kind of draw parallels to what put Tampa over the top the last couple of years. Yes, you look at Tampa and what they've done, and you look at kind of the foundations to why they broke through eventually from being a team that could get to the second round, third round to repeat Stanley Cup champion. Yes, you can look at John Cooper and the job of him, their front office, a little bit of cap trickery there as well, and of course their star talent like Vasilevsky, Kucherov, Stamkos, Ryan McDonough, Victor Hedman, all those guys, the guys we all know, Braden Point. But I think you look at the last couple of years, what has helped out tremendously for them is just that added depth. I mean, you had guys on the third line who probably on most teams would not be in a third line spot. They'd be top six stalwarts. You look at a guy like Blake Coleman or Yanni Gord, these guys that further down the lineup where they're able to get these easier matchups, they were able to kind of more or less pick apart teams. And you kind of looked at that from how Tampa probably approaches this game afterwards, where, they don't get any points out of this game, but it's a situation where Vasilevsky and that defense, they, held Bergeron off the score sheet. Pastrnak didn't get a point, and Marchand and Krejci only got a point off of that empty net goal in the final minute of the game. That's a game where if you told them probably before the game that you're holding those guys off the score sheet, they have to be feeling pretty good. But what do you know? On the third line, you have a guy like Taylor Hall, a guy that has won the Hart Trophy not too long ago, who is I think would be a top six, if not a top line player on 90% of teams. He's a guy that buries you on the third line, scores 2 goals against you, one at 5-on-5 play, one as part of the second power play unit. For a team like Tampa or any team that has, championship pedigree and has that defensive talent or has a really good goaltender, that has to be just so deflating when you feel like you've done a good job. You've negated the other team's top six, and guys on the third line kind of bury you in a game. So that's a testament to the Bruins and their depth. And, we'll see how, Hall's role evolves here. It's a long season, still have 60 plus games to go. So we'll see how long he stays on that third line. But if he buys into that role and he continues to produce next to Coyle, I mean, that just makes things so much more difficult for opposing teams in terms of how you're able to match up against the Bruins. So that was a huge positive in this game. Bruins as a whole did a very good job in terms of limiting the chances against Tampa, other than that one, power play goal they have, which Stamkos, left circle, one-timer. Not much you can do there. Tampa really didn't generate all that much. I think they only had three high danger scoring chances during 5-on-5 play. But also credit has to be given to Jeremy Swayman. Back out there, probably had, I would say, probably his best start of the season so far. I mean, he had 27 saves, 28 shots. Again, maybe not a lot of high danger looks, but he made them count when they were there, right? I think the one that stands out was in the third period, had that great kind of sprawling pad save on Corey Perry, kept the Bruins ahead in that one. Huge stop. And again, for Swayman or even Ullmark or anyone who's in net for the Bruins, this zone defense is going to limit the amount of high danger chances, but I think it's all about when those chances do develop, making those timely saves. And I think you saw, a great example there from Swayman in terms of how he stopped that shot from Perry. So I think positives all around for the Bruins team. Yes, you probably want a little bit more 5-on-5 production from that top six, which is still kind of a work in progress. Something that Marchand talked about earlier this week about he's not feeling 100% at his game yet, and they feel like they still have a lot more to give at 5-on-5. But look at the way this team's rolling right now. It has to probably terrify a lot of other teams in the NHL if you look at the guys like, Marchand and Krejci and Zacha and Pastrnak and these guys, and they all feel like they have another gear to hit at 5-on-5 play. Pretty terrifying. So that's kind of our quick takeaways video from tonight's win. Of course, you can get all of our coverage, breakdowns, columns, all that stuff over at bostonsportsjournal.com. Thanks for watching, guys.